Alright guys, and welcome back to another Lorcana Go video. I have done a deck tech on this deck before, but I have made some changes to it. And also since the last deck tech, I went to a championship event in which I came in first place and I won. I got the Stitch and I got the playmat. So yeah, I guess what I said in my first video is correct. This deck was capable of winning a championship event and getting yourself a Stitch promo, and I did just that. So let's talk about this deck, and I'll talk about the changes that I made. The first thing I'll go over are the changes that I made. On the original version of the deck, I think 61 cards, and I also had 3 Hercules, the big Hercules, Big Herc, to shift onto the Bodyguard Herc. But what I was finding was that even when I could shift that Hercules onto a Bodyguard Herc, I didn't want to give up the Bodyguard. Having a Bodyguard was just too important. So I passed on the opportunity to shift that Hercules a whole lot. So after doing that so many times, I just, had to face the fact that the card really just shouldn't be in the deck because it's just not good enough. I mean, it's a 6/3, it has a resist 2, it can sing Whole New World, but you really don't want to give up the Bodyguard, and 6/3 with resist 2 still dies to Maui, it still dies to Alon Came Zeus, it still dies to most every threat, but the big deal breaker was losing Bodyguard. So I fiddled around with that slot for a while, trying to figure out what would best replace the 3 Hercules. I decided that I was going to go down to just 60 cards and not 61, so I really only needed to replace 2 Hercules. I ended up settling on Sleepy's Flute. Now, I had tried Smee, but I had so many 3-drops already, plus my shifters are all 3, or my Kita shifts for 3, my Queen shifts for 2, so it really couldn't be something in the 3-drop spot. And so I tried Smee, which was a 2-drop, because I only had the 4 piglets, and maybe, Smee would be good. And Smee was okay, but he wasn't quite good enough. Then I eventually tried the Sleepy Flutes, even though I had the 4 Baloos replacing the Sleepy Flutes. So I had 4 Baloos and 2 Sleepy Flutes, and the Sleepy Flutes performed very, very well in this deck. Especially in addition to the Blues, it's just a lot of unpreventable damage that Ruby Amethyst particularly had a lot of problems with, and then so did the Sapphire Ruby and Sapphire Steel control decks had a lot of problems with it. And the Sleepy Flute was so good that I actually got rid of 1 Baloo and put in a 3rd Sleepy's Flute. Now, I got rid of a Baloo because we kind of have a logjam at our 3-drop spot between Ariel, Blue, Benja, Hercules, and Shifting Kita. And I got rid of the Blue because, well, he's not inkable, but also there were games where I was just sort of getting multiple Blues in my hand, and I was being forced to sort of ink the Hercules when I would prefer to actually play the Hercules, because the Hercules is the better Bodyguard option on turn 3. Baloo becomes a better Bodyguard option later in the game, but on turn 3, you kind of want to go like Kita, Piglet, Bodyguard Hercules on turn 3, or Cinderella, Piglet, Bodyguard Hercules turn 3. If you're taking the Piglet route on turn 2, Hercules is your ideal turn 3 drop, and Baloo really isn't. But that doesn't mean Baloo's not good. Baloo's great like later in the game. Like playing bodyguarding a Baloo on turn 4 and like eating like a Maui with it. I mean, you don't eat the Maui, but you tank the Maui hit. And so Baloo's still very good, and his ability, let's make like a tree, is still very strong, I think. The guaranteed 2 Lorgan. So I don't want to take Baloo out of the deck altogether, because I'm really trying to be as aggressive as possible. And the Baloo 2 damage is just worked out very well for me. So I'm glad I kept him in there. And 7 bodyguards on turn 3 total pretty much meant I was getting a bodyguard on turn 3 whenever I wanted. So anyway, the change that we made was basically removing the 3 Hercules and 1 Blue, going down to 60 cards, and adding 3 Sleepy's Flute. And the Sleepy Flute really helped me win the championship, because there was a whole lot of Ruby Amethyst, and Sleepy's Flute is just an absolute beating against them. They can't get rid of it, and they're forced to kill you fast, and their deck just isn't fast. So if you can get a couple Sleepy Flutes early, they are in a world of hurt. Now I've already done a deck tech on all the other cards, but I'm gonna do another one real quick. We have 4 Cinderellas. She's great. She sings your removal songs, so she is definitely wanted as a turn 1 drop. I have 12 turn 1 drops. That's to make sure that Piglet is armed and dangerous on turn 3. So we have the Kita, and then we have the Queen. They both have 4 of their larger shift targets. Kita was another just MVP for me. The people there were pretty confused by her ability. And the thing with Kita is you got to know when to play her. You can't play a Kita into a Scar. Like if they have Scar in their deck and it's like turn 6 and it's about to be their turn 7, like you can't play Kita. You have to be cognizant of when they might Mim Fox or play a Maui, because Kita reduces the strength of your guys too. So if you're aware of what's in your opponent's deck and you play your Kita at the right times, I think she's actually better in this deck than Robin Hood would be. I was able to trade for 4 Robin Hoods at the tournament afterwards, but I wouldn't actually switch Kita for Robin Hood, to be honest. Because she just gives you so many lines of play to protect your Piglet. The Aerial, of course, is to search for songs. The Blue we talked about, Benji to get rid of pesky artifacts. Hercules is like the unsung hero of this deck. He just does so much. You play him turn 3, it lets your Piglet attack and live through your opponent's next turn. Also, Hercules trades with the Mim Fox. He puts Maui in range of being killed by Let the Storm Rage on. And then in Emerald Steel, he actually just demolishes the enemy's board. Like he just eats the 0/1 1 drop. He eats the Flynn Rider 1/2. He eats Prince John's. So he just puts in so much work in the Emerald Steel match, and he protects your Piglet in all the other matches. I just love this Hercules, and that's actually why I got rid of the bigger Hercules, was because I'd rather have this Hercules in play than the bigger one. So there's no point in having it. And then we have the Queen. Everybody knows the Queen. The Queen, if she goes unchecked, is just she's very powerful, and she gives you an opportunity to sing Whole New World on turn 2. We have the Bare Necessities. We need that to get rid of like Grab Your Swords. Especially Grab Your Swords. Be Prepared is not actually as scary to us as Grab Your Swords is, because by the time they get to Be Prepared, they're pretty much already within range of Sleepy Flute or like a Baloo killing them. We have the Benjas to get rid of the Fishbone Quills, and we have also the Bare Necessities can get rid of Fishbone Quills. So I'm not so worried about Be Prepared actually with this deck as I am with Grab Your Swords. So the Bare Necessities main purpose is actually to get rid of the cards I just mentioned. Grab Your Swords, Fishbone Quill, and a few others. Let the Storm Rage On is a great follow-up to a Cinderella. Great removal card. Strength of the Raging Fire, another great removal card. We have only 3 Along Came Zeus, because when I had 4, I was just sort of getting them clogged up in my hand. They're not inkable, and they only sing with the Aerial or one of my shifted guys, whereas these ones can be sung by more characters in my deck. The Hercules, the Blues, and the Cinderellas, and the Benjas as well. And then, of course, we have the 4 Whole New Worlds. We want to dump our hand, we want to be aggressive, and then we want to fill our hand back up. Another thing Whole New World does is it just bones the red-blue and the blue sapphire control decks, because they hard mulligan to get Fishbone Quill. And they, if you're on the play and you can Whole New World on your turn 3 before they can play Fishbone Quill, they probably have at least one in their hand that they're going to lose. And if they don't draw into another one, you can just sort of win the game right then and there with a Whole New World. You have to know when to Whole New World against what deck. So I suggest, playing a lot if you can. But, yeah, and then so that's the deck. And basically what you want to do is If you're on the play, you want to try to do the line where you're getting Piglet turn 2 into a Bodyguard turn 3. Or you can also get Piglet turn 2 into an aerial and then sing a removal with Cinderella. That will also protect the Piglet in a lot of matchups. Like if they have a Captain Hook out or like a Smee or something, you can turn 3 aerial into a Strength of the Raging Fire or let the Storm Rage on and take care of a threat. So you don't actually need a Bodyguard. But the Hercules is ideal. So you want to go 1-drop into Piglet into Hercules. And then on turn 4, like if your 1-drop was a Kita, and then turn 4 you can shift Kita onto Kita, you get your second attack in with Piglet, and he'll actually live to see a third attack. And you get 9 lore with Piglet, you're going to win the game, I promise. 6 lore with Piglet, you're probably going to win the game too. But not every matchup is a Piglet turn 2 into a Bodyguard turn 3 matchup. Against certain decks, you need to be careful about getting your Piglet blown out. Or maybe you're on the draw and they're like first turn, like Captain Hook, second turn Smee, or they're like first turn. I've had like first turn Rafiki, second turn Captain Hook, right? Your Piglet's pretty much no good there. And now you're really sort of going for a aerial into removal. Looking for like Queens, looking for Hercules, looking to Whole New World. So the Piglet option isn't always available to you. But you can go either way with this deck. You can go for the fast kill with Piglet into Bodyguards on turn 3, or you can go for the dump your hand, play Whole New World. And then just hope to get them that way. There's multiple ways that you can actually go about winning with this deck. It's not like super straightforward, and the early turns are actually pretty difficult with what you want to ink, what you want to play, maybe what song you want to grab with Ariel. Do you play the Baloo or the Hercules turn 3? You're probably going to want to play the Hercules. There were games where on turn 2 I had Piglet, but I didn't play Piglet. Like turn 1 I played like either Kita or the Queen. Turn 2 I actually just like played Sleepy's Flute or hard cast Bare Necessities. It all depends on like the matchup that you're playing and what they're trying to do. This is kind of a reactive deck in that way, because you have a lot of answers and you have a lot of ways to sort of prevent the opponent from doing what they want to do with Bare Necessities and also a Whole New World. So I can't just say like this is what you want to do every time, because the strategy on the play versus on the draw is like very different. And also the strategy against varying decks is different. Like against another aggro deck, you don't really want a Whole New World. You sort of take on the control. You take on the control line in that matchup. Like against Emerald Steel, very rarely would I want a Whole New World. Like people were Ursuling me with Emerald Steel and Emerald Amethyst aggro, and they were taking my Whole New World, and I was like, great, because I'm probably not going to play that anyway. Like I'd rather have let the Storm Rage on there, something like that. You can sort of win by getting aerials out, drawing songs, and getting value that way, and then eventually getting in some attacks with Piglet and your other guys, getting them in range of being Balooed out or Sleepy's Flute. I managed to win a couple games by killing my own Baloo. Remember, that's something you can do. You can target your Baloo with all of your removal spells. So if you get to 18, or even if you're at 17, you can attack, you can quest with Baloo, and then you can kill your own Baloo to finish out the game. I actually was 1-1 against Sapphire Steel in game 3. That's how I won the game. I swung in with Baloo and then killed my own Baloo for the last 2 points of damage, and that sent me to the finals. And then the finals I played against Ruby Amethyst, and then also Ruby Amethyst again. So I played against Ruby Amethyst 3 times in 6 rounds. So there's a lot of Ruby Amethyst. The meta in real life is a lot different than it is on Pixelborn, so also keep that in mind too. Anyway, that's the deck. I will link to it in the video, and I did actually manage to get a first place, win a champion mat, and a Stitch. I traded the Stitch right away because I don't really like enchanteds. And I got a lot of staples that I need to keep building decks in the future. Anyway, thank you for watching.